all this. Great Kellyanne Conway, former counselor to President Trump, Fox News contributor. And my great friend Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor. Welcome very much to both of you. Kellyanne, I'll start with you. You know, going back to that Bret Baier interview, we've referred to it. We'll keep on referring to it. I mean, from day one, they ripped up 94 Trump executive orders to close the border, including remain in Mexico. That's what they did on day one. And then they had this phony pro-citizenship bill that would have kept the borders open, but even a bunch of Democrats were opposed to it because it was too much. Now, my generic point is she does not want to talk seriously about policy. All she does want to attack vitriolically Donald Trump. So I want to get both of you to talk about that because I think it's a losing strategy. Kellyanne, what you think?
It's a losing strategy, Larry, but what else can she do? She sounds like an MSNBC segment at all times now. We have such thick shock absorbers when it comes to attacking Donald Trump. Who has been more insulted, investigated, indicted, convicted, impeached, castigated, denigrated? And this is why also it was so critical that he win the primary. We had a primary on the Republican side. They didn't have one on the Democratic side. Why was it important? Because people were saying, look what we did with China and the border and the economy. But those were all Trump accomplishments. So why go for a facsimile when you can get the real thing? And now that you have the real thing, I think Kamala Harris does not sound credible or compelling when she tries to go right at the guy who had a success at 4 years on the border, on the economy, on energy independence and the rest. Look, I think she's playing it all wrong. If I were Kamala Harris, I would have stuck with Biden-Harris. I would have stuck with the policies and said, listen, I haven't had my hand on the wheel. I've been in the room for the big stuff. Give me a chance. And all that people would have seen was different was not her position on fracking or middle-class tax cuts or Trump's border wall, which she hasn't paid advertising. They would have said she's different. And she could have cashed in on that, I think, at least enough. Oh, boy, where's the joy? This person said that she's bringing back joy to politics. They look miserable on the daily. Even when she's on a comedy show, there's a miserableness.
You know,
last point, when women are in positions of power, yeah, it's true. But Trump's got great joy on the job, Larry and Newt. He's out there every day mixing it up with the folks. He's in the Hispanic town hall. He's in the Bronx.
Trump looks like a winner, Kellyanne.
He's in Coachella.
He
looks like a winner, and he wants you to.
He looks like a winner,
he's
and
a
he sounds like a winner. I don't know if he's a winner. You know,
they're metaphors for America.
Yes, but you can look at him. I was saying this at the beginning of the show, Newt. You can look at Trump. Look, he was in the barber shop in the Bronx yesterday. Then he was on the Al Smith last night, and some of the jokes were terrific, some of them were not terrific. He even says he didn't like some of the jokes, but he was relaxed. He looked like a winner. He looked like a winner on Fox and Friends. To Kellyanne's point, Newt, Kamala Harris looked all crunched up and then got very overexcited, waving her arms. She lost the even-keel temperament that you're supposed to have to be a president. And I think it's because either she's not telling the truth or she doesn't want to do it, or all she wants to do is attack, unstable and unhinged. That's what she calls Trump. As Kellyanne says, they've called Trump every name in the book for the last 3 years, actually longer than that, but the last 3 years. They've busted him. They've weaponized against him with lawfare. And look where he is. He's standing at the head of the polls, Newt. So I'm just saying it's not going to work. I don't think the strategy works. Or am I wrong? Am I missing something with 2.5 weeks?
Well, as long as Trump stays focused on drawing the contrast both in policy and performance, she's going to lose. I'm curious to get Kellyanne's reaction because I'm going to go out on a limb here. I think she's not very competent. But given that, she's probably playing a losing hand about as reasonably as you can play it. She can't talk about policy because if she's clear, either her base will rebel or the country will repudiate her. She can't talk about performance because the contrast between Biden, Harris, and Trump is so unbelievably bad, she can't do it. So she has one choice, attack Trump, which also doesn't work, partially because of what Kellyanne said, which is, it's a little bit like, I thought Mike Johnson, the speaker, was great on Sunday. One of the reporters of the current fad was saying, well, Trump didn't release his medical records. And don't you want to know what his cholesterol is? And Johnson said, this guy got shot and stood back up and raised his fist in the air and said, "Fight," and you want me to worry about his health? So the problem is Trump has a great record, a great proposal, a strong personality. She has a lousy record, a lousy proposal, and an incompetent personality. That's a pretty big mismatch.
Let me play some tape. I want you both to react to it from the Al Smith dinner last night. It's not about policy. It's more gentle than that. Take a listen, please.
I have a very fresh appreciation for how blessed we are by God's providence and his divine mercy. I mean, that was something I was not supposed to be here tonight. That I can tell you. So with God's help, I know there is nothing that cannot be achieved. We can achieve so much good with this country and get together and unify.
You know, Kellyanne, I still think the unity message, the successfully unify the country and so forth, is a winning message for him. What you think?
It is. And we Americans, since 1960, with very few exceptions, Larry, we have chosen the candidate we see as more pleasant and more calling for more unity, more forward-looking. That's just a fact, with very few exceptions. Like Richard Nixon in '72, when he had other advantages, the only president really to get over 60% of men and women to vote for him. But we usually go, it's Trump over Hillary. It's Bill Clinton, frankly, over Bob Dole and whoever else ran against him, George W. So the point is that the unity message works, and here's where it works. It gives people a reason and some grace who aren't supposed to be Trump voters to be Trump voters. Rank and file union, African Americans, Hispanic Americans who are so sick of what's being taught to their kids in these schools and who are angry at the outward hostility toward religion that so many Democrats have now, not just Catholicism, but just the outward hostility to religion. And of course, many of the younger people who are giving Trump another look, Jewish Americans. I think Trump's going to do very well in some of these suburbs around major cities. And so he doesn't, look, I just mentioned groups. Donald Trump doesn't need to win 50% of any of those groups to be the next president. And part of the message, Larry and Newt, is because he's saying, come along, everybody's included. She's divisive, he's unifying. Yeah,
he just needs to cut those margins. Newt, I'm short on time, but I mean, Kamala Harris's video last night, it was an insult to Catholics, but I think it was an insult to everybody. Jewish, Christians, non-Catholic, anything, Newt. I know you've talked about this, but this is becoming a very big problem for her. Last word, Newt Gingrich.
Well, and Calista just wrote a newsletter pointing out she's the most anti-Catholic candidate since Blaine in 1880. The biggest thing is these people have no sense of reality. You have the governor of Michigan having a phony communion using a Dorito instead of the host, and no idea how much it offends Catholics. And then last night, not only is she insulting everybody by sending a video instead of coming, she then has a Saturday Night Live skit that is anti-Catholic. I mean, you have to say to yourself, how totally out of touch with the world is the Harris-Waltz team? And the answer is pretty far out of touch.
Yeah, people were furious, came up to me. They were furious. Anyway, Newt Gingrich, thank you. Kellyanne Conway, thank you very much. We appreciate it.